portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind, given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right.
My allergies are terrible today. I hope that shit comes. Good morning. How's everyone doing today? Good? Me, I'm alright. My allergies are doing terrible today. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And watch some videos. CNN.
Everyone in Nancy Guthrie's inner circle, find out who had intimate knowledge of her comings and goings and who had motive. Technology, he says, simply can't help with some of those answers. Anderson?
Brian Todd. Brian, thank you. I want to bring in retired FBI Special Agent Michael Easter, who worked for more than a decade with the Bureau's Cellular Analysis Survey team. Michael, thanks for coming back. I mean, is the lack of camera footage the biggest technological blind spot, you think, in this case? Because obviously, you know, it struck a lot of people as baffling that even in a somewhat rural part of Tucson, there wouldn't be more surveillance cameras or traffic cameras or something that would have given authorities at least an image of a suspicious person or vehicle.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you, Anderson. I would think I would add into the nature of the properties not being at curb line or street level, and that you see a lot of the properties back up against tree line that would make it difficult for your traditional Ring cameras to capture the comings and goings along the primary roadways. One would hope, and I've had experience in this with other cases, is that in addition to their more overt ring type cameras, that some of the properties would have covert cameras, things such as game cameras or things that they didn't want to broadcast that they were using to collect CCTV. I would also add that you have to remember that in addition to CAS, the FBI has a program called Divert, and that's our digital imagery and video recovery teams. And they will put together and stitch together not only cameras in this immediate residence or neighborhood, but throughout that area of Tucson to include likely routes of travel in and out, freeways,
don't forget to hit that like and subscribe,
even everyone. Businesses. And they'll stitch that together in a very dynamic way that investigators can see the location of the camera, what was actually captured, so that it can be related to other digital evidence to include interviews and generate leads.
How tough is it for a person on a scene to not leave DNA? I mean, you obviously see people wearing, you know, latex gloves in movies. I assume there are a lot of other ways one can leave DNA behind. Hairs falling off your head.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Anderson. I think if somebody's already gone to the extent that they're going to make the effort to remove digital cameras and make some type of effort to remove the victim from the property, that they've thought that far ahead. And so I would be surprised that you're going to see accidental DNA. We're going to have to hope, or I would say purposeful DNA. We're going to have to hope for that accidental DNA, that they made a mistake, a glove ripped, or they, we've seen other cases where they've just left something behind by accident.
Returning to the Nancy Guthrie disappearance, more of the purported ransom note and the $6 million in Bitcoin, which was apparently due at 5 p.m. Time zone, unclear, according to TV station K-Gun. Now, officials have not authenticated it. They have been taking it seriously. Mrs. Guthrie's daughter, Savannah, made no mention of that deadline in her video this afternoon, but said we are at an hour of desperation. CNN's Randy Kay looks at how ransom demands have played a role in other cases over the years.
The day after Christmas, 1996, a ransom note is discovered in John Benet Ramsey's house.
The note was lying across the 3 pages across the run of one of the stair treads. And I started to read it. It
How
said,
you doing?
"We have your daughter." And I immediately ran back upstairs and pushed open her door, and she was not in her bed.
The note says, quote, "If you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions.
Don't forget to like
it
and
demands
subscribe.
$118,000. The kidnappers say they represent a small foreign faction and sign it
Smoke
SBTC.
rock? No.
The
This is
letter was a
marijuana.
ruse. Jean Benet was
Evil.
already dead. Her killer or killers have never been identified. Decades earlier, in 1960, Adolph Coors III, heir to the Coors Brewing
Don't
Company
forget to hit that
fortune,
like button
is
as
kidnapped
well.
in Colorado. The ransom demand, $200,000 in 10s
Thank
and
you.
$300,000 in 20s. The ransom note tells Mrs. Coors to contact the kidnapper about the money by placing an ad in
I'm
the
listening
Denver
to the
Post
Nancy
for a
Guthrie
tractor in
trial
Section 69.
case.
She does that, but never
I do
hears
true
back.
crime.
Authorities trace it all to a man named Joseph Corbett Jr., who had escaped prison in California. In September 1960, Mr. Coors' remains are found. His killer, Corbett, is later caught in Canada, convicted of murder, and sentenced to life in prison. When newspaper heiress Patty Hearst is kidnapped in 1974,
Patty, still screaming, was dragged out to a waiting car and thrown into a trunk.
How's
her
everybody's day?
captors, who identify themselves as the Symbionese Liberation Army, send a
How's
ransom
everybody's
note
day?
demanding
Good?
the release of
Of
2
everybody's
recently
morning,
arrested
I mean.
members. Then California Governor Ronald Reagan denies that, which leads to a new demand, a multi-million-dollar food giveaway for the poor. Still, Patty
My
is
morning
not
was good.
released.
We love you, Patty, and we're all praying for you.
Soon, she's caught on camera participating in robberies with the radical group. She's arrested nearly 2 years later and sent to prison. In what many consider the crime of the century, the kidnapping of famed aviator Charles Lindbergh's son,
Just drinking
there were
coffee and
13
chilling with you
ransom
guys.
notes in all.
The little boy was kidnapped from his second-floor bedroom. Left behind was a crudely written ransom note that
Very bad
demanded
allergies. I hate it.
$50,000 for the return of the child.
The ransom notes warn against contacting police. Riddled with spelling errors, they read, "After 2 to 4 days, we'll inform you where to deliver the money." Months later, the boy is found dead. A
Wow.
man named Bruno Hauptmann, eventually executed for his murder. His conviction partially secured based on handwriting analysis from all those ransom notes.
I hate having
Randy
it.
Kay, CNN.
That's it?
Well, that's it for us. The news continues. I'll see you tomorrow night. The Source
This
with
was
Caitlin
fast.
Collins starts now.
See you tomorrow night. Ugh, she is very wishy. Why you guys leaving? That sucks. I hate when people leave. Makes me very sad. What kind of bee makes milk? A booby. That's funny.
It seems Nancy Guthrie is still alive. That is at least what Savannah Guthrie seems to be telegraphing in her latest Instagram post. She says she, meaning Nancy, is feeling
You're funny.
these prayers. So she believes Nancy is still out there. And the other thing
If you're a new
seems
subscriber,
clear
say I
is
sub.
they have reached a dead end with whoever took her mother. She says that we believe our mom is out there. we need your help. This is Monday, and the deadline is today at 5 o'clock Tucson time. And the kidnappers made it very clear in the first ransom note, which we received, the situation is dire if they are true to their words, if they don't get that ransom money at 5 o'clock today, Tucson time. We have checked the Bitcoin address, and you can see what's deposited. As of this moment, the $6 million ransom has not been deposited.
Thank you. I appreciate
Something
it for
has happened
subbing.
where they are at a stalemate. Because if you remember over the weekend, Savannah said, we are ready to pay. And the money isn't there. There is some reason, obviously, as to why they haven't. And it just seems like Savannah is throwing her hands up, saying law enforcement is doing everything they possibly can, but she is begging for the help of anybody, no matter how far away, for anything that could be a clue. The kidnappers,
How you doing?
as far as
Little
we
B.
know, have not shown proof of life. Now, we have only seen the first
Good morning,
ransom
Little
note,
B.
not the second. The second was sent to a local Phoenix television station. But it seems that the kidnappers have not done anything concrete, although there is something really interesting in the message Savannah left over the weekend when she said, we understand, referring to that first note. So there is something that the kidnappers said or demanded that Savannah is acknowledging. And then to me, the key word in that Instagram post over the weekend is the word celebrate. What did Savannah mean to say, we
My
want to
allergies are acting
celebrate
up.
with our
I'm
mother?
waiting for my machine
It's an odd phrase to use in the middle of all
so I
of
could
this.
rinse my
And
nose.
the only thing I can think
I gotta
of
go to the supermarket
is
and get
that
distilled
word may
water
well
though.
have been used in that second ransom note. I don't know because we haven't received the second, but the word is so out of context that I think it's reasonable to at least guess that that word was used in that second note.
Thank you for
Now,
liking, Little
she
B.
says,
A lot of people
our
don't
mom has
really
been
come to this
taken and we
channel.
don't know where. So she is kind of acknowledging that.
It's
And
alright
as
though.
we told you
I'm used
last
to it.
Friday, that the way the ransom note, and we'll be a little bit descriptive now, the way the
But I
ransom note
appreciate you
is
being
worded,
here as well.
that they say we will bring
Are you
your
up
mother
usually at this
back
time, Little
to
B?
Tucson, meaning they're not in Tucson right now, if you believe them and take them at their word. We will bring her
Because I could lie.
back to
If you hear
Tucson
a lot
within
up at this
12
time,
hours
I
of
could
the
use.
time that we receive the money. Well, if you take 12 hours and then you multiply it by 60 miles an
I
hour,
bought a
it gives you
machine that
about
you
a
can
700-mile radius
rin
around Tucson.
wash
And
your
so
nose.
it's basically the Western United States, if you take them at their word, that they would
On
be
Amazon,
within
let
the
me show you.
confines of that 700-mile radius. Personally, I think that there is a good chance that they are way closer. And the reason I say that is there is a connection between this kidnapper and the Tucson
Trace
television
Products.
market, which is a much smaller radius than 700 miles. This person who wrote it has some connection to Tucson because the first ransom note was sent to 2 local television stations there.
That.
In addition to us, the second ransom note sent
Rechargeable 2 set of nose storing remedy. So you put that in your nose and it cleans and it rinses your nose.
If this were just somebody who saw Savannah Guthrie on TV and said, here's what we're going to do, they probably would have sent it to NBC News, where Savannah works. This is somebody connected.
I paid $99.
And it just feels like it's somebody who either knew Nancy or knew of Nancy, that she had a famous daughter.
You want me to put the link on Discord?
That Tucson area. So
You want me to share it on Discord?
Friday, but it sure seems to me.
Let me see if I can share it on Discord.
And I want to say one other thing, that whoever wrote this is intelligent, is articulate, And I say that because the way that first ransom note is
Let me
worded
see if I
is
can put it on Discord.
well-structured.
Yeah.
The grammar is almost perfect. And it is somebody who is smart. And so if
don't get it
somebody in
yet
the
until I
Tucson
do a
area
review.
who
Because I'm
knows
gonna
that
do a
somebody over the
review on
last
my
week has
how you
gone
doing, Pies,
MIA,
David?
who is smart
I'm gonna do a
and
review
articulate,
on it when I
I
get
don't know,
it
that might be a lead.
to see if it
But
works.
it just feels like this is somebody
And
who
I'm gonna
lived in that
post it
Tucson
on
area, or at least
my
the
YouTube
Tucson
channel.
market. And it is somebody who, if you believe this letter, is within that radius right now with Nancy.
But I'll definitely put it
Of
on Discord
that,
when I have
of
time.
the city of Tucson, Arizona. So unfortunately, it seems, at
Thank
least
you, I
judging by
appreciate it.
Savannah's most recent post, that they are at some kind of a dead end, because she's just now begging for everybody's help as the clock keeps ticking.
Can you set the scene for us on Saturday night and what happened at Annie's home?
Yeah, Megan, it kind of came out of nowhere. I was over at Nancy's house, which is about 10 minutes away, and I got a call like something's going down at Annie's house. So I raced over here. This is Annie's house behind me. And when I got here, there were 3 deputies that had just arrived.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get that. It's supposed to come in today. It
Security
was supposed to come in
on
yesterday,
hold.
but it was late.
Because the security guards moved out of the way, let the 3 deputies in.
Oh, you got that's a cute cat, though. I like your cat.
They had some camera equipment that was in a case. They went inside, and they were inside for 3 hours. They closed all the blinds. I could see them taking pictures. Yeah, there you go, right? That's some of the stuff they brought out. I could see them taking pictures in the garage. You could see a flash from a camera, and then you could see them move throughout the house to other parts of the house because you could see the flash from the camera coming from around the blinds.
And it took about 3 hours?
Yeah, they were inside for 3 hours, and then they packed up and they left. They didn't say a word. And NBC is reporting today that it was consensual, that I guess it was worked out with the family that they were going to show up, which really doesn't surprise me because, again, just it didn't seem, it seemed like they knew they were coming. The security guard moved out of the way. They knew how to get into the house. There's no one at the house right now, so they went in on their own. And it all seemed like very coordinated.
Brian, where's the family?
Oh, smoking weed is the best.
We don't know. They were here. Savannah was at this house early last week with
any of you smoke cannabis?
Her sister's husband, and Cameron was here also. And this is where they filmed the first video because we saw them bring the ring light and the tripod in. And somehow they left without anyone really noticing. And it's interesting, there were more security guards here specifically hired by NBC.
It helps on my
when
headaches.
Savannah was here. There were 3
it helps me
security
sleep
guards.
Too.
And then when she left,
how
now
you
there's
doing,
only one
Aaron?
security guard just sort of keeping an eye on the house and, telling people to stay back.
It's all right if you don't.
Well, it's interesting to watch NBC in the mornings on the
Some
Today
people
Show,
do
see what they're
edibles,
reporting
though.
on this case because
I can't.
There's no question.
I
in my
cannot
mind
do
it would have been
edibles
blessed by
because of my
Savannah.
back.
There's zero doubt
because of my
that
stomach.
they are asking her, "Are you comfortable with this? Are you okay?" They would not want to upset her or get out ahead of their skis or go someplace where she didn't want it. And they were the ones who broke the news that the search of Annie's home was consensual, as opposed to via search warrant. So to me, I'm deducing, though I can't confirm it as an independent fact, that she doesn't want it looking like her sister or anybody living in that home, like the brother-in-law, are in any way in trouble. But that does not jive with Ashley Banfield's reporting about them considering Annie's husband, Tomas, and that he may, quote, be
Thank you for coming. I'll see you
a prime
soon.
suspect in this case. We're still investigating that too, Brian, and whether the brother-in-law is coming under the scrutiny of law enforcement. And all I can tell you is that I have reason to believe
I go live several times a day.
I don't know that he did this, but I do believe her reporting that they are taking a very serious look at him. And
oh, that sucks.
He's been out of the picture.
You got that problem.
I mean, he has not
I got the same problem
in any
too.
of the videos. Has he been seen at all, Brian?
He hasn't been seen since I think it was Tuesday of last week. We
It
got
helps
some
with
photos of him
my anxiety
outside
and
the house
depression
here.
as
He's very
well.
recognizable with this big beard. And he was outside with his wife, Savannah's sister, Annie, and they were in the car together. But it's now been almost a week. And something else interesting, you mentioned how they the authorities went and retrieved the surveillance video from the gas station and that they were looking for someone. That gas station is a Circle K, and it's right around the corner from Annie's house. It's not close to Nancy's house. It's right around the corner from Annie's house. And it's where it's positioned is where you would have to drive to go from Nancy's house to Annie's house, which I think is really interesting. It's literally like 1 minute away from here.
Here's what I want to know. I want to know whether anybody's been.
It depends where you.
asked to give
If you smoke
and or
tobacco,
has given
yes,
a polygraph.
and nicotine,
Not
yes.
a peep about that. Is that correct?
If
No
you
one's
smoke
saying a word.
marijuana
Not
or
a word.
no.
I interviewed yesterday a former homicide detective for Pima County who was there for 20 years and is now retired. And it's interesting what you were reporting in the beginning of your show. I mean, he says the same exact thing, that there's been so much turnover there that it's a mess at the sheriff's office, and that most of the homicide detectives have like 2 years experience. And so he's concerned a lot of the veterans like him have left just because they've been upset with the department for different reasons. And there was a different sheriff, and then another sheriff came back, and it's been a mess there. But he was telling me that in his 20 years there, they never once administered a polygraph.
That sucks.
That wasn't something that they did as a sheriff's office ever, not even once.
I got herniated
But
disc in my
yeah,
lower
I know.
back,
But
my
I don't
upper
know if now
back,
that the FBI
and
is
my mid
involved,
back.
you know, maybe they would be doing that.
I don't know, because while they suggested it was a joint investigation at the Thursday presser, FBI, Pima County, my understanding is it's Pima County running herd on this. That it's their investigation, their running point.
Yeah, it does
So
help.
that may tell us some unfortunate things. Here's the other thing I want to know. The Sunday discovery that Nancy was missing allegedly came down to someone at her church noticing she wasn't there and calling the family, which then sent the family to Nancy's home, which led to the discovery of the crime scene. However it looked, they haven't really told us what was inside the home. The Daily Mail and you also, we talked about this last week, reporting that Nancy Guthrie was no longer attending the church.
Yeah,
that
Megyn
they said
Kelly,
she
yeah.
was, and that in fact
She's
she's been
very
going
beautiful, though.
virtual for the past 5 years since COVID. That she'd been participating in the live stream that this church offers, leading us to ask, how would anybody have noticed that she wasn't on the live stream? Because it's not like a Zoom where you can see people joining. Now, we did actually try to join it this weekend and realize that there's a chat. You can join a chat. So it is possible that somebody was in the chat. Look, maybe this is my own bias. The thought of my mom not only joining a live stream, who's 84, but actually then getting in the church chat during the mass and chatting.
I wouldn't play around either.
It's an impossibility, but maybe Nancy Guthrie was a lot more tech savvy than my 84-year-old mom. Could be. She had an Apple Watch. So I want to know whether
my mother's not that old. My mother's about to be 55 in August.
Who's purported to have made the phone call, Brian? Do we know whether
55.
that's happened?
It hasn't happened from what we know, and that's been one of the
and my dad was born. My dad's about to be 60.
And then all of my other colleagues, we all talk about it out on the street. We've all been trying to figure out this church element. Everybody has been to the church. Everybody has talked to the pastor, and the pastor has said that she went to the church, but that she hasn't come back in person since COVID. That she
no, not me, my dad.
And no one seems to know that she went to the church. And the church over the weekend at their service, you know, the pastor talked about Nancy, and it appears that's the church she goes to. And what I thought was interesting,
if I'm gonna be 55, I look good.
The sheriff never brought up the church again. It's
funny.
almost like he said that the first time. Right
no, I'm not gonna be 55. My mom
never talks about the church anymore. So I don't know. You know, the sheriff made a lot of weird, off-the-cuff remarks and mistakes. Like, I don't know if that's just something he said initially, and now there's another reason that the family is concerned that has nothing to do with the church. I just don't know.
International.
I have numbers that repeat themselves, but no.
Digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over.
I have two numbers that are the same, but no.
And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious.
I'm about to be 33. It'll
Gold
be.
can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind, given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy.
I'm about to be
See if holding gold
33.
in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you.
33.
Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA.
We don't talk about age here because we got children that we got people that are 18 and younger that come here,
There's
And
no
we don't want the
obligation,
pedos
just useful information.
that target children.
With an A+ rating from the Better Business
We
Bureau
don't have to,
and
you
tens
know,
of thousands
so.
of happy customers, consider letting Birch Gold help you diversify with gold, so you too can have peace of mind regardless of the uncertainty. Text MK to 989898. Here's what he said when asked. The question was, have you interviewed the people that reported her, meaning Nancy, missing from the church? And he responded, we're doing all kinds of interviews. Yes, I'm sure we have. Okay, which is not actually a yes. That's not actually a yes at all. It's actually kind of disconcerting. And yet another thing that either they do need to do or they've done and he's just not telling us. We don't know. So Brian, what about today? The deadline now for this 5 p.m. $6 million
Oh, this was yesterday's deadline.
is looming. And the Savannah and siblings video from the other night said we will pay. It said we will pay.
Yeah.
But they've had no proof of life. They don't know whether these people actually have their mom. And so do we believe that they're actually going to pay $6 million in Bitcoin? Like, has any law enforcement spoken to this or shed any light on what the next step should be?
Yeah, I mean, Savannah said they will pay. Whether they end up doing it, we don't know. And it's interesting, you mentioned the local affiliate was reporting, I think you said it was 1 million and 6 million. That's a little different than what I've learned. I learned it was 4 million.
Yeah, it was 4 million.
And 4 million was the first deadline on Thursday at 5 p.m. and 6 million is the deadline today. But that was in the first note. And the second note, while we don't know exactly what it says, there are some indications that it, you know, based on what Savannah said in her video, the second note may have alluded to Nancy not being okay. And that's why I'm hearing they're not calling it a ransom note. They're just calling it a note. And there was no demand for payment in the second note. It was just a message to the family. It wasn't like, and you can still pay this amount by this time. So I don't, and also, is there a third note that we just don't know about? But that's the other thing I've been wondering. Maybe they're just not reporting on it yet, and Savannah's video is responding to a third note.
I wonder the same, because some of the messaging is so like controlled and calculated. It almost seems like they're saying something they were. Can we watch the Savannah video one more time? Let's just watch it one more time.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us.
No, we
so
never
we
met. We never bumped into each other.
This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
So first of all, it's incredibly grim. They're all very.
Because he lives in Brooklyn.
Expressions that telegraphs they've gotten any sort of hope.
I live in the Bronx.
She said, we understand.
So I live north.
Sad, like,
he lives south.
Way. We beg you. She's begging them now, saying, give us our mother back so we can celebrate with her. Again, that word celebrate sticks out like a sore thumb. And it's the only way we'll have peace, which is another word associated with, I think, people who are.
It would be nice,
grieving,
but no.
Having a settlement of the grief, even if it's a sad settlement, but just a settlement, like what's happening.
I would like to. We could go see Yankee game together because he likes the Yankees.
But you're right. We don't know what was in the note. Wait, but Brian, the $4 million would make more sense to me than 4 and 6 makes more sense to me than 1 and 6, because I have to tell you, I've had this conversation behind the scenes with a few different people. Let's face it, $1 million is not much for Savannah Guthrie. She can lose that easily and not really even feel it. So, like, if that were the initial demand, I think they would have just paid it. They would have just paid it on Thursday. 4 million is that's a lot more.
Yeah, and I'm confident in my reporting. The person who I spoke to saw the note himself. So I'm sure it was 4 million and 6 million. And I can't remember if I talked to you about this last time, but
4
million
million is a lot.
Was in the first note that was so alarming to the FBI.
And then this is Brian Enton as well.
The location of the Apple Watch inside Nancy's room was very, very specific. And the other thing is they specifically referenced a damaged, smashed floodlight in the backyard, which has since been removed up on the back of Nancy's house, which is smashed. So those two things were spot on in the first note, which appears to be why they've been taking all of this so seriously.
But Brian, don't you think, like, okay, so the floodlight is visible from the outside. You know, people were crawling all over the property, and especially, you know, Monday. I think the first notes came Tuesday, so you would have just had to see it on sometime Sunday or Monday, or prior to that. You know, potentially you could have seen it prior to that if you were a contractor taking advantage of the family's pain here, and you'd been inside the house. You might know about that floodlight, and you might know where she keeps her Apple Watch at night. The thing that I can't get past is, if I stole somebody and I needed to give proof of life so that I could get millions of dollars,
Yep.
I would ask that person questions that only that person would know the answers to. And I would put that information in my note. Like, information above all would be proof of life, not where, like, who would say where she keeps the Apple Watch or that a floodlight had been damaged as their, aha, it is I've got your person proof.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point.
Puff,
You'd
puff,
think there'd be
pass.
something more specific,
Nobody.
you know, and initially, you know, they really wanted to open these lines of communication, but you'd imagine if there really is a kidnapper, they would be hesitant to do that because, you know, the FBI is trying to track. And I don't know if you knew this, Megan, but we found out through the news director of KOLD, which is where both notes went, that it wasn't submitted through like an email. It came through a news tips form that you fill out on the website of, you know what I mean? Like you can fill out your name, subject.
Both notes or just the second one?
Both notes. That went to KOLD at least. I don't know if it's the same with TMZ. So I think that makes it harder to track. And they used, you know, a scrambler for the IP address because it was different IP addresses both times.
Oh, that makes sense.
So if they, you know, I don't know that you can attach a picture that way.
I know, and I don't even think you need a picture though. Like, if somebody had a relative,
is it cold?
Yours or anybody or mine or anybody listening.
Outside?
We all know certain things they could ask the relative. Like, if anybody who I know very well, a family member, needed to prove through a kidnapper that it was them, that they were with the kidnapper, they absolutely could do it with information, with references, you know, with like family jokes. Like, it would be easy. And so just the fact that this person has gone with something so weird, like an outside floodlight.
Where you live at?
The location of an Apple.
That's almost 80.
That proves to me you've been to the house. And it looks like you've been in the house. But think of the number of contractors. She has somebody help her change her light bulbs.
Little B, where you live
change
at?
Her air filters, her air conditioner goes on the fritz. Somebody comes in. The person who may have changed the roof recently, as the neighbor observed. It's like the list is so long. But now we're talking about somebody who's taking advantage of the family.
That's almost 80. Wow.
Not necessarily the person who's causing it.
Well, or is all this just a sideshow, Megan? I mean, I've been thinking about this all weekend. You know,
I'm
is
jealous.
all of this just something that the FBI has to look into and that Savannah and her family have to respond to because you put yourself in their shoes? You know,
you should get one
just
of
in
these.
case,
This
how
is
could
what I
you
have
not?
where I
What
put my
if
weed at.
the 1% chance it is true? You know, you want to respond, you want to try, but is there a whole nother side of this?
30 minutes away from Ray Ray. Have
Like
you ever
mentioned at the
met up
beginning, we
with
just
Ray
don't
Ray?
know about. I mean, them coming here to the house, you know, at 9 o'clock at night on a Saturday out of nowhere. The only thing that I'm skeptical about that, though, is that it was these 3 sheriff's deputies who were just kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I saw the raid at Nancy's house. I shouldn't say raid, but I saw when the FBI team showed up, it was like insane. I mean, it was a full-on FBI. They're in their special outfits. They're in the fancy vans and the evidence unit, and the tape goes up, and it felt so organized. Here on Saturday night, it was just these 3 deputies. I mean, I hate to say it, but their cars were a little beat up, and they get out and they kind of wobble in, and it. Like, if this was so
right now, it's 26
here,
degrees.
Here? Like, there's a lot I can't figure out.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and
hit
full
the
episodes.
subscribe button, what the lady said. If you're new.
Hey everybody, I'm Ashley Banfield. This is Drop Dead Serious. Welcome once again to Vermont.
Ashley
It's been
Banfield's
another
hot
day,
too.
And there have been weird developments, some very dire developments in the Nancy Guthrie disappearance. We are in day 9. It is day 9 of this awful crisis for the Guthrie family. 9 days since 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie vanished. You know, at the time we were saying kidnapping and abducted, and there have been a lot of people who've started to question whether even that happened. Nobody knows at this point officially anyway, certainly not being told publicly what happened to Mrs. Guthrie. And if the law enforcement officers who are working on this know and are chasing specific leads, they are not saying so publicly. I'm recording this on Monday,
What's
Feb.
the
9.
rain by 1 or
Just hours ago, a very important
what time is it over there?
deadline passed. And I think you could say this was the second but most consequential deadline in that whole alleged ransom effort. I think you all know that there have been at least 3 ransom demand letters that were emailed or electronically sent to TMZ and 2 local Tucson stations. There was another effort in California that was made via another communication to the family. Somebody's been arrested and charged in that case. It's different than these 3, but these 3 all seem to be from the same source, making very specific demands. That the first deadline would be Thursday of last week, and if $4 million wasn't sent by the deadline on Thursday, then the second deadline would be today. Again, today is Monday, and that deadline was 5 p.m. local Tucson time. And it would be $6 million. The consequences would go up by $2 million. And
wow, $6 million
so
is a
you
lot of
saw over
money.
the weekend, Savannah and her siblings putting out a plea to please let them have proof of life, but then also suggesting we understand and we'd like our mom back so that we can celebrate with her. That seemed very dire as well. There was a note, not a ransom communication, an added note that came into a Tucson station that was
$6 million is a lot of money.
communicative, and it led to Savannah saying those words. We heard your message and we understand, but the only way we can get peace is if she's returned to us. So it seemed as though some people felt that they were appealing to the kidnappers for a body as opposed to the return of their mother alive. Authorities have not released any of that information. It's just people who are wondering and reading into Savannah's words. Savannah also released another video today. I'm going to show all that to you. I have a lot to tell you about today, in fact, because there's a lot to be said about the deadline that passed today. And according to TMZ, they know the wallet, right? They're the ones that got the letter. So they know the wallet and they can check the wallet. And they said, as of tonight and that deadline,
much better.
The wallet had no deposits, no transaction activity. Probably for very good reason. I'm going to break all that down for you. And also, if you have had any hope like I have, that authorities are smarter than these guys and that they're going to catch them, have I ever got an interview for you? You're probably going to feel a lot better when you hear from one of the experts that I'm going to speak to in just a moment about how, yeah, Bitcoin's not all that anonymous. And cryptocurrency is not all that anonymous. And this whole cat and mouse game between the authorities and the bad guys, well, sometimes the authorities are winning. In fact, a lot of times the authorities are winning. And it doesn't always require someone to pay into the wallet in order to track the wallet. It's so interesting what you're going to hear. I encourage you to sit through this because it made me feel better that whomever is doing this to the Guthries is going to be caught. I think we're
I
dealing
hope they
with two
get
different
caught.
crimes. I
You
think
don't
we're
do
dealing with the
stuff like that. That's
scammers who are
fucked
trying
up.
to, exploit a terrible situation to get money. And then I think we're dealing with the terrible situation at hand, which is the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. I'm going to break all of this down. What the unanswered ransom demand may actually mean, including new reporting on new leads that the authorities have said, expert insight into the whole transactional aspect of this. And
I hope they
we're
get
also
caught
gonna
by
get
the end of
into
the week.
Savannah's latest public statement. There's a lot. that was said and not said, which speaks volumes. She's made updated comments. We've
Don't
had
forget
comments
to
from
like
law
and subscribe,
enforcement.
everyone.
Unusual, like 2 sets, almost a correction. I'll get into that in a minute. Then there's also a whole new layer on the search activity that took place at Savannah's sister's house late Saturday night. And so many people were asking so many questions, understandably. 3 unmarked vehicles show up, and 3 officers get out, and then flash bulbs start going off, and they're covering the windows late at night, like 8 o'clock until 11 o'clock local time in Tucson. So it obviously raised a lot of questions. And as I'm recording this, it's 11:15 Eastern. Yeah. So we were told there was going to be activity there tonight by the authorities. So it's 9:15 at night right now, and there's no activity.
I'm just watching Ashley Banfield, Little B.
Tonight. I will get into that, what it might mean, what it might not. First, though, I just want to get personal for a second, because I know a lot of you have been watching and you've been wondering, why isn't she doing TV anymore? Why is she doing the podcast? Why is this just solely what I do as a reporter now? And there's a lot of reasons. First of all, I love this medium. I like being able to talk to you one-on-one, personally. I like being able to work without a specific deadline. I can actually come to you when I have compiled information. That's why I didn't do a podcast throughout the weekend, and I summarized last night. It's back in the playlist for all of the story coverage that we've done on this story, on the Nancy Guthrie story. But also, I just like the casualness as well. 38 years I've been wearing dresses and makeup and hair, and now I can wear a hoodie and kind of my hair. It actually brings to light a sponsor I wanted to talk to you about tonight, because I'm all about
That's a long time.
Doing things that are good for you, food, everything. And I want to talk to you about what you're putting on your face, right? Because a lot of you spend a lot of time worrying about what you eat and
I've
what you
only
drink,
been doing
and
this 2
exercising,
years.
taking care of your families, and you cake your face with makeup that is full of chemicals, and most of them we can't even pronounce. Don't read the label; it's going to make you upset. So I've got a new sponsor named Tubes, and it's important that I bring you.
Why the hell
I
y'all
think they're
always
really important.
advertising
I only,
shit?
did not hold a press conference. They haven't done that since Thursday, but they released a very long statement, right? The sheriffs, I'll get to the FBI in a second, but they suggested that they were going to be out at the 2 Guthrie residences again tonight. Interesting. They haven't been, not yet. Again, it's 11:18 Eastern, 9:18 local time. They're not there. They also suggested that they are running down new leads, and that's great, as they should. The way investigations work is you build, and sometimes you get a right turn, and sometimes you get a left turn, and you go where those turns take you. So I'm going to read you their statements in just a minute, including the oops, did we forget, and we'll add this to it 20 minutes later statement, which is odd, but I will read that for you in just a second. But first, I want to play for you
How's everyone
Savannah's
doing?
statement today. It was just her. She didn't have the siblings with her. She was shooting herself on Instagram. It was not set up with like an FBI ring light or a formal set, seating. It didn't look like there was anything being read. And I want you to listen really carefully to the things that she says, and then